and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Jen Campbell. I focus on product marketing and innovation here at TRC, and I'm joined today by John Bennett, who is the business unit director, focusing on project controls. Now, I'm pretty excited to cover this topic today because, John, as we've been talking, I just am really energized by the approach that your team is taking with project controls. And so, thinking about how best to serve the customer ultimately has led your team to become vendor agnostic in this space. And so when you're working with customers and looking to modernize their project management and their control process, by being vendor agnostic, it really allows you to look at their unique situation, understand the breadth of tools that you've been exposed to in the past, and then deliver to them a specialized set and a specialized approach that's tuned to their business needs. And so this really gives an advantage to customers working with you and your team because they ultimately get the best of what's out there in the world put together to solve their problems. And on top of that, I know your team has a wide breadth of experience in different industries. So that also allows you to kind of see, oh gosh, over in this space, they're doing it this way. Well, your operations have some similarities. Maybe you can lean into that. So I think that both of that cross-pollination from the tools and from the industry perspective is really giving customers an advantage. And now that we're part of TRC, that expands it even more because we're at a new size, a new scale, and we have a whole new set of team members that can expand that industry expertise even more. So what's been your experience with the merge and kind of your positioning on the team expertise with this?
Yeah, thanks, Jen. And it's really good to speak today about what we've been doing. We've been working in this project control space for over 20 years or so. So we've seen all types of solutions in all types of industries and sectors and territories and countries. So yeah, it really gives people comfort to know that you've seen all of these different requirements, different environments, and we can provide that kind of real closer fit solution to the needs of those organizations.
Wonderful. Yeah. And I think just the value that customers get from that is pretty interesting, especially when thinking about what other service providers offer, right? So a little more specifically, can you tell me why you're seeing in this space right now that it's crucial for more infrastructure companies to adopt modern project management tools and processes?
Yeah, it's really a really competitive environment out there nowadays. You can see in lots of the news, the construction companies, contractors really having to work on low margins, and really that drives the need to be more innovative, to really remove any inefficiencies in the organization, and having good data, good knowledge bases of previous experiences, previous projects that have worked and not been so well, really gives them the advantage when they're trying to compete in this heavily tricky times for these organizations.
I think that's a really interesting point about, just there's kind of less to work with resource wise, margin wise, and, demands are just getting more and more extreme. Even if we think about some of the changes in the world around us, right? Climate change, that kind of stuff. It is putting more demand across the board. So, thinking a little bit more about that, what are some of the key pain points that you're seeing with these infrastructure companies? And in particular, thinking about aging systems, aging infrastructure, and some of the low productivity challenges that customers kind of bring to you.
Nearly all companies now are really data companies, right? And they've built up such a big knowledge base. We see over a number of decades, there's been big shifts in investment in IT systems. People that went for big ERP, business management solutions, so maybe 20 years ago or so. Then they brought in new enterprise resource management scheduling tools, but still, even now, there's still a heavy reliance on spreadsheets. So when we're looking at trying to become a data company, trying to make sense of all of that, to be able to point at the right source of data, really those spreadsheets are not standing up for them, and that's the challenges that we're helping people through now.
Wow, that's amazing to me that there's still cases. I mean, it's funny because when we think about things like paper-based process or paper-based approach to doing things, you think about like physical paperwork, and that's some of the challenges that I've been working through on some of the stuff that I'm doing in product. But I think that even in a way, spreadsheets are still kind of paperwork because they're completely disconnected and isolated. And yeah, they're digital, but if they don't live in a central system that can drive more of those processes and deliver better business reporting to be able to see patterns in your operations and that can then allow you to improve it. If it's not centralized and driving those core systems, you're basically blind. So thinking more about that and like implementing some of these project control systems, what are some of the results and improvements you see when you shift them off of that, spreadsheet onto a centralized system with central data?
Yeah, so it's really, we have a proven sort of methodology that we do we take these organizations through. We want to understand where they are for now. We capture their sort of as is, what are their pain points, what are their priorities, what their requirements are. We then help them through the marketplace to say, if you want to resolve or you want to address this business problem, here are some solutions that can help you through that. And then we take them through a list of evaluations and criteria to help them fine tune the right fit for them. And when we're then taking them through that implementation, then they can start realizing that those spreadsheets or those old processes can now be optimized and modernized. And so there's been some really good experiences where we've done this very recently.
That makes perfect sense. So it's really about starting with, what are your organizational goals? What are you trying to optimize for? What's your vision for where you want to be in 6 months, 12 months, 3 years, 5 years, and then designing a system around that vision that helps them get there while bringing them out of the the disconnected data world. That's pretty fascinating, and it makes perfect sense. So thinking too, because it's interesting. I've always been fascinated by the business that you've been building over the past couple of decades, and like the different industries you've been serving, because there's so many within our team that is also geospatial focused, right? And so but there's always cross-pollination, which again, it's why it's so fun and interesting to talk to you and learn more about how you approach solving customer problems. But thinking about that GIS component, have you integrated GIS with any of the overall strategies for your customers? And if so, is there an interesting example of how, thinking about those mapping solutions, how they can be applied to the projects that you work on day to day?
Yeah, that's a really great topic there, because a lot of the work our customers do are very linear or in their nature. Their roads, their rail, their pipelines, their gas lines, their electricity transmission lines, they all go over it. And it's really useful for stakeholder management, for performance management, to be able to see the projects over distance. And without having those kind of integrations, we've spoken to organizations where they're doing that analysis manually. They're looking at Google Maps, or they're looking at something else. They're looking at their spreadsheets, they're looking at their schedules, and they're actually spending time drawing maps, drawing links, making sure that the indicators of good performance are being entered in by hand. And we talked to one engineering company that was doing that, and it was just taking all of their time just drawing shapes on maps. So we took their data away, we assessed that and realized that we could easily make this work for them by connecting to their schedule tool, by using their GIS. They already had a very good enterprise GIS they were working with. We could link the two, and then those shapes, those indicators, those performances were all almost immediate in real time. You could drag the map and zoom in, and the shapes would redraw, the performance would highlight where they were, and it was something that then they could just go straight to their stakeholders and show as a working tool in meetings, rather than going back to their desks, spending days and weeks drawing things again when the project's changed. So that was a really good example where just by providing quite a simple integration really unlocked a lot of value for them.
That's amazing, John. And back to the power of having that data centralized. So moving beyond just the project control spreadsheet, but also having your GIS information at the ready, digitized in a central modern system that in a very quick turnaround, you can have the reports you need to inform stakeholders and keep everyone apprised of the situation, of progress, and all of the usual data points, all the usual questions that project managers and program managers get asked about. Well, thanks, John. I appreciate all this great intel. It's again, it's really exciting to hear kind of how your team is thinking about this. Any closing thoughts before we chime off here today?
I guess the one thing is to always just challenge the status quo, that people that are using those spreadsheets and those old systems, that there's that danger of always doing what you've always done, and really that in this competitive market you need to start looking at that innovation and productivity and being more efficient, and the tools and the systems that are available to you, working with a partner like us, we can get the best value.
Yeah, thank you, John. I think that's spot on. And again, I'm really energized by the approach of being vendor agnostic, but still having wide exposure to different tool sets on the market, so that you truly can think about the individual business, where they want to go, and selecting the right collection of tools that, when brought together, will help them get to that future state. So I think continuing to be committed to that mission is a really powerful position, and again, like, customers can just gain so much benefit from that. So yeah, really thinking about solving today's challenges and setting up for the future. And I know we're excited to just work, continue to build the business around this, and with the competitive advantage we have here, which ultimately drives productivity and keeps data quality and safety at the highest level, and really positions customers for that long-term success. So thank you, John, for joining today. For our audience, please do reach out on LinkedIn and follow us. We'll continue to build some more content that talks about project controls, do some case studies, blogs that explain really the successes we're seeing day to day. So again, follow us on LinkedIn, and thanks again for watching. Have a great day.